So if there's anyone else who would like to come up to join us for a story for all ages, now is the time. It's a good one. All right. I see lots of new faces that I'm excited to see, and faces I haven't seen for a while that I'm also excited to see. So all around us, I don't know if you've noticed, but there seems to be a lot of change going on. So the days are getting shorter. Did anybody have to turn their clocks? Is it forward or back? Turn it back so you got an extra hour, but that also means that nighttime is going to come sooner. It's going to get darker earlier. And you know what else is changing? The leaves are changing. Right? They're turning into all sorts of different colors. My favorite colors, yellows and orange and reds. Even the squirrels are acting a little bit funny these days. I don't know if you've noticed, but they're just going around and they're collecting acorns and walnuts and they're hoarding them for the wintertime. So, I just know that something strange is happening. There is definitely a change that's occurring. Now, when a change occurs, there are many different ways that we can react to it. We could be really happy that the change is occurring. We could be really sad that the change is occurring. We could be upset or maybe even confused. Maybe we don't know why the change is happening. So if you could imagine that you came into the world during the summertime. And let's say that you grew up really, really fast so that by the time that the summer ended, you were as smart as you are today, right? But all that you know is just summer. All that you know is sun and beautiful flowers and gentle breezes. And then all of a sudden, a change starts to occur. You notice that the days get shorter. You notice that things are getting colder. And you see those squirrels acting really, really strange. You might be a little bit afraid if you were experiencing it for the very first time. So, another change that occurs that sometimes makes people very scared is a change that we call death or dying. It's something that no one really understands very fully. And like the changes that I mentioned before, sometimes when it happens, even if you experience it again and again, each time it happens, it's still scary and uncertain. You just don't know what to expect and what to do with it. Now, all over the world, at around this time in this hemisphere, in the northern hemisphere, people tend to celebrate holidays that help them to better understand death. So Halloween is an example of one of them, and Dia de los Muertos is an example of another. And the reason why we celebrate these holidays, and look at those funny images of skeletons up there, is the reason why we do that around this time of year is because we realize that sometimes if we can make something funny or more familiar, it becomes less scary. So if we stop avoiding a thing, it loses its power over us, right? So we have skeletons like those or like these that we kind of bring out during this time of year. And it's kind of fun to see it and unexpected. And it's a way of making something, a change that could be very scary. It's a way of making it very familiar. Right? And a little bit funny, right? Did you see any skeletons during Halloween? Yeah, there are quite a few. So it's a way of making something funny and familiar, and that way it becomes less scary, and someone wants to grab it, right? So during the Day of the Dead celebration, we take a concept known as death that's a change that we really don't understand very well, and we try to make it funny and familiar as a way for it to become less scary, right? So I want to show you some images that I also think are pretty funny. And let's see if we can figure out what they are. Silly? Yes, I think there are going to be some silly things. So here we have a skeleton dressed as a As an angel? Right over here? Right. As a witch? Yeah, that's a kind of funny thing. An angel, I'm sorry, a skeleton dressed as a witch? Okay. And here we have a skeleton dressed as a, I thought I heard it over there, as a mariachi. And lastly, we have the skeletal remains of a what? Of a unicorn. Of a unicorn.
And a cowboy.
So we turn, and a cowboy, which of course is trying to lasso the unicorn. So all of this to say is that by taking something that's scary and playing with it, we turn it into something else. And one other thing that this time of year also teaches us, which is super duper important, is that during scary times, times of change that we don't quite understand, even when we can't make fun of them, even when we can't do things to make them more familiar, we can always count on our communities and our families to come together to help us make sense, to help us celebrate, and eventually to help us laugh at the things that we find frightening. We can come, exactly, just like that, just like that. We can come together as a community, and we do this year after year. That's why this celebration is so important, and that's why we do it here. And that's what I want you to remember. So please, the whole congregation is going to join us. You guys are going to go back to your seats. The congregation is going to join us in hymn number 305, De Colores. 305.